Okay, welcome to phase 6 of this app development journey. In the last phase, we went through how to create a food order app, which took us through the concepts of classes and objects, and of course, how to nest those classes into a parent class. In this case, we nested a food order object, aka food order class, into a restaurant class. So in this phase 6, we're going to be diving into cloud storage, everything that has to do with the cloud. We're going to be saving text to cloud, numbers, objects, um, lists. We're going to be uploading images to the cloud and downloading them from the cloud. And to wrap things up, we're also going to be streaming a video from the cloud towards the end. So this is gonna be all cloud. Everything in this phase is gonna be all cloud. Storing data in the cloud. It's gonna be fun, and let's dive in. So by the time we are done with this phase, you're gonna be very familiar with Firebase, which is a cloud platform by Google that helps app developers and web developers to easily integrate cloud functionalities into their apps. So we're going to be using Firebase today. The first thing we're going to do is to set up a Firebase for our app. And to do that, we're going to go to firebase.google.com, and then if you're not signed in, of course, sign in, and then just click go to console up here at the top right corner. Once you have that clicked, the next thing you would want to do is to create a project. If you don't already have one, I already have a couple. If you don't already have one, click add new project, and then we're going to call this let me see, we're going to call this seed. Since our project name is seed, let's call it seed A. Okay, and then click continue. I don't want analytics, thank you. Create project. It's loading. Almost there. So right now it's creating a database for our profile, our account. So now it's ready. I'm going to click continue. And then on the left side here, you're going to see different services by Google, which is the first one is authentication, second one is Firestore Database, third one real-time database, storage, hosting, functions, and machine learning. The ones we're going to be focusing on today is real-time database and storage. So real-time database is basically a cloud database that is real-time. That means you can request data and push data in real time. So that means when a friend sends you a message, you can get that message instantly, that kind of thing. Then storage is pretty much file storage, like saving videos to the cloud, saving images, any kind of file, even a .txt file, it's a file. So we're going to be testing these two out. Now, Firestore database is kind of like a real-time database, except that, let me zoom in. So Firestore database is kind of like a real-time database, except that Firestore is much more structured, in the industry standard way. It deals with documents, but it's pretty much the same thing, but it's much more structured. While in real-time database, you are completely in control of how you structure your data. So the first thing we're going to do is to click on, let's say, the real-time database to start. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to create a database. I'm gonna zoom this in a little bit. Okay, so we're going to create a database. Leave the defaults and click next. Click start in test mode. click enable. Okay, so our database is now set. The next thing we're going to do now is configure the rules for our app. So I'm going to click rules. I'm going to make sure this is in public because we don't want to go through the process of authentication for this tutorial. It's not really necessary. So I'm going to click on rules, and then I'm going to go to the documents we have over here. Find the rules for the real-time database, click it. Let me zoom this in a little more. Perfect. Okay. So for the real-time database, I'm going to copy this rule here. When you are launching your app, these rules are not recommended. It's recommended that you use authentication to authenticate your users first. So this keeps everything safe. But for testing, we're gonna keep everything public. So paste the rule we copied from this link for real-time database. This one. This is the rules that link brings us to. So click on copy this rule and paste it in our Firebase real-time database rule, and then click publish. Okay, it says rules published. Now we are done with rules. The next thing we are going to do now is to also set up our cloud storage. Okay, so right now we created our real-time database, and then we set up the rules. We're going to do the same thing for storage. So click on storage. This is the one that is going to be storing our files. Click get started. Next, and then done. So right now it's creating a bucket for us, a bucket where we can be storing our files in the cloud. You're not gonna see a bucket, but just know that in the cloud, your storage drawer is called a bucket. So now this is set up. The next thing we're going to do is to update the rules to make it public, so we don't have to use authentication for this test. So I'm gonna click on rules. I think I need to bring down the zoom level again. Okay, so this is our rules. I'm going to go to our document and copy the rules under Firebase Storage, this one, and then click the rules, and I'm going to copy it. This rules makes it public. That means we are not going to be using authentication. So I'm going to override this current rule by pasting the one I copied. Okay, and then click publish. Okay, now that is done. All right, so now we're done with setting up the creating a storage module and then a real-time database module. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to integrate this into our app. I already have our app open here on Android Studio. So click on project overview, and then click get started by adding Firebase to our app. So this is an Android project. So this is an Android project, so we're going to click on Android, and then we're going to paste our package name here. So to get our package name, we're going to go to our app in Android Studio, and then in the Android manifest file, which is this one up here on the manifest, Android manifest, this is our package name. Okay, so we're going to copy this without the quotes, copy it, and then go to the Firebase console and paste it in there. Okay, and then you can ignore the rest of the fields and then click register app. Okay, so now we have registered our app. The next thing we're going to do is to add the configuration file into our project. And to do that, the first instruction is to set our project structure, project file structure, to be the projects view. So right now it's in the Android view. You can see the Android head up there. So click, by the way, if this pane is hidden, you can unhide it by clicking project here. So click this head and then select project. We want it to be in the projects view. It's the same file structure, just different layout. So this is the project file structure. I'm going to expand it. Come on. Okay. So now it's expanded. We're going to download this file, this Google services.json file. I'm going to download it. Now it's downloaded. So it wants us to put this file into in our applications folder under app. So we're going to drag it into the hierarchy of app directly. Now, quick note on downloading this JSON file. The file you download, the name must match this. So if you click this twice, make sure you are using the one that matches this name, Google services.json. If you downloaded it twice, it's gonna have a parenthesis like 1 or 2 in it. If that's the case, rename it to this, or delete the ones you've downloaded and download it again so that you have the name that matches this one. Okay, so next I'm going to import this into Android Studio. There are many ways of doing this, but the way I'm gonna do this right now is to minimize Android Studio and copy this into there. So I'm gonna minimize Android Studio a little bit. Okay, so it says to drag this into our app, which is this one. That was the instruction. So this is the project for the projects module, and then this is the app module. So the instruction says to drop this into our app module. Let me show you the picture one more time. Oops, the picture didn't show. It's okay. So drag this into the app module here, and then click refactor. As you can see, it's now there, Google services.json. Okay, so it's now set. I'm gonna go back to the Firebase console. So yeah, we put it in our under our app module, which is what we did here. As you can see, which is what we did here. So make sure that is correct on your side, and then we'll continue. So next, we're going to add the Firebase SDK. The instruction says to make sure you have Google in your projects build.gradle file. That's a project level. Again, there is a project level, and then there is the app level. So if you look at your build, your project, which is seed, you're going to notice there is this level, and then there is this level, the app level. So this instruction here says to check to make sure this Google is in the project level build.gradle file, because we have 2 of them. So this is the project level build.gradle file, this one, and this is the app level build.gradle file. So we're gonna check this one. Okay, and yes, we do have Google up there. That's good. So it says we should add this line to dependencies. I'm gonna copy this and then check if it's there already. If it's not there, I'm going to add it. Okay. So as you can see, it's not there. So I'm going to add it. That's under this dependencies parenthesis. Okay. Let me paste that there. And then you can ignore this one. All right. And then in the app level build.gradle, it wants us to add this dependency, and then it wants us to add the Firebase dependencies that we're going to be using from this link. Okay, so remember we're going to be using Firebase Database and Firebase Storage. Okay, so I'm going to copy this link and show you those dependencies. So normally what you would do is you find Firebase Storage here. Let's see. So this is the Firebase Cloud Storage. In this case, we'll be needing this dependency, but don't copy it yet. And then for Firebase Database, should be somewhere here. Firebase Database. So yeah, this is the real-time database. We're going to be needing this. This is the version number, and then this is the Gradle implementation line. Now I've made this easy for you. I've extracted the exact lines we need. So just open the link here where it says import Firebase modules. So this is the link for, this is the implementation for real-time database and the one for cloud storage, and then this is the one that was suggested in the setup process here. So just copy this whole thing, and then in our Android Studio, in the app level build.gradle file, this is the app level, click it, and then there is a build.gradle file there. This is where you put this code, okay, in the app level build.gradle file. That's the build.gradle inside this app level. If your project is in the Android view, you are going to see this build.gradle. You're going to see them labeled project level and module c.app. This is the app level, this is the project level. You want the one that says c.app, that is your project, your app level. That's where you put these new implementations we're going to be pasting. So for the process of this demonstration, I'm going to go back to the project view that was recommended. So the app level build.gradle file, inside there I'm going to paste this new codes. Okay, so we have the one for Firebase, and then Firebase BOM, and then Firebase Database, Firebase Storage. Firebase BOM is kind of like a tool that keeps these two up to date automatically. All right, so going back to our instructions, the last step is to click sync. So I'm going to click sync in our project. While it's syncing, that means it's importing these modules. While it's syncing, I'm going to click next, and it says we're all set. So the next thing is to go to documentations. That means the next thing is to proceed with working on our project. So I'm going to click on real-time database because this is what we're going to be working on first. And then I'm going to go back to our app and see if it's done. So yes, it is done. It says sync finished, no errors, great, perfect. So that means our project now includes Firebase. All right, so the next thing we're going to dive into is, we're going to be typing text and saving it, and saving all other sorts of data. Remember, this is our design for our app. So we have a video view here, a play web video button, save text, save number, save object, save array. All right, so so let's design this app. Let's dive in. All right, so the first thing we have is a video player at the top. Let's see, I'm gonna close this down, close this down, close this down, close this down, and close this one down too. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch back to the Android view. All right, so under our resource folder, that's where we're going to find our layouts, and then we're going to add a new screen. Last time was the food order app. This time we're going to design the screen for this phase 6. So in our Java folder under our project name, I'm going to right click and click new, Android activity, and then I'll click empty activity. So we're going to call this screen 6, and then yes, everything looks good, and finish. All right, and then we're going to go to our activity for screen 6 and start designing. All right, so the first thing we have here is a video view, so we're going to bring that in. So that should be under widgets. Yep. So we have a video view here. So I'm going to drag that in. I'm gonna resize it. I'm not sure why it's so big. Okay, I'm gonna bring it up here. And then I'm going to add constraints. On all 4 sides. Okay. So now I'm gonna bring it up here where I want it. So this video view is set. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to need a button right below it that says play video. So let's bring that in. Under common, we're going to drag in a button. I'm gonna increase the size a little bit. I really hope you guys can see this. Then I'm gonna add constraints. Move this one all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, then drag it in place. Okay, then the next thing would be to add this toggle over here. This is a feature I added here so that we can deal with some if-else statements before uploading. So this is gonna allow us to enable internet and disable internet in the app pretty much. So to do that, it's right below this button. So we're going to bring in that switch, and it's over here, right here, switch. If you can't find it, just search switch and it's gonna show up. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna drag it in. Okay, I'm gonna add constraints. Oops. I'm gonna add constraints all the way to the bottom. Okay, this one to the left, and then this one to the right. Okay, then I'm gonna drag it in place. Then we're going to rename this text over here. We're going to rename the text, the description, find text. We're going to rename it to online. So that's going to define whether we can, when it's off, we can't upload stuff. When it's on, we can. All right, press enter and it gets renamed online. Okay, I'm going to see if I can change that to bold. Text style, let's see, text style bold. Okay, yeah, that looks good. All right. So the next thing is to add these 4 buttons: text, number, object, and array. This button, when this one is clicked, we're going to upload a text. When this one is clicked, we upload a number. When this one is clicked, we upload an object. When this one is clicked, we upload an array. All right. So let's dive into that. So we're going to need 4 buttons, right? 4, yeah, 4. So the first one, we're gonna call this let's see, text. Oh, you know what, let's do that after adding the 4 buttons. So add the second one, and then add the third one, okay, second one, third one, and then we need a 4th one. We are kind of running out of space. So before I put this in place, I'm going to add constraints to each of them. So drag this to the top, drag this to the bottom, 4 corners for constraints. Then this one's all the way to the right, and then I'll shift it in place. Then do the same thing for this one. Drag it all the way to the top, drag it all the way to the bottom. Okay, then I'll move it out of place so I can do the same thing for the rest. So drag this one to the top, drag this one to the bottom. Okay, and then I'll move this one out of place also, and then do the same for this one, the 4th button. Drag it to the top, drag it to the bottom, left, right. By the way, this can also be done from here, but I'm doing it from here to make things easier, also so that the constraints don't stick to the next view next to it. Okay, so I'm gonna move this all the way to the left, and then bring this to the center. Okay. All right, so let's rename. So text, number, object, array. Okay, so this one is gonna be text. Text. We're gonna find the text attributes and rename it to text. Okay, and then for this one, we're going to rename the text attributes to number. Press enter. And then for the next button, we're going to rename the text attributes to objects, obj, just like our design here. And then press enter. And then for the last attributes, we're going to rename this one to array, which is a list. All right, so this is done. text object memories array. This is done. So the next thing we're going to do now is to create the IDs. We're going to call the first one. The ID should be text button. No, yeah, text button. Refractor, yes. And this one would be number button. Number button. We're currently updating the IDs that we're going to use to connect them to the screen after. Then this one will be object button. obj button. Okay. And then lastly we have our array button. So array button, enter. Okay, so we have the IDs as text, number, object, and array button. Okay, so now that's good. The next thing we're going to do is to dive into the images, because we're going to be uploading an image and downloading an image. Okay, so we're going to need an image view here and an image view here. So let's do that. Image view right here, I'm going to drag it in. I'm going to set the icon to maybe green car. No, let's use the gray car. It's much more square. Okay, I'm going to resize this, and then I'm going to add constraints. Okay, and I want this to be here. All right, then the next thing would be to add the second image, which should be blank for now, the downloaded image. So we're going to bring in another image view. We're gonna set this to something, you know, really small for now, like this, like this one. All right, so this is really a placeholder. So we're gonna add constraints, drag it to the top, drag it to the bottom. Okay. We're gonna update the size. All right. Now I'm gonna add a background color to this. Background color. Okay. I'll do the same for this one. Background color. Okay. So now this is done. We still need to add 2 more buttons for upload and download. So let's do that. So bring in a button down here. Adjust the size a little bit. And then add constraints. I'm adding the right constraint as we speak. Now the left constraint. Come on, what's wrong? Okay, so now this is done. The next thing is to add the right button. So we're gonna drag in another button for this one, and then resize it a little bit. Okay, so let's add constraints. Bring this to the top. Bring this to the bottom. And then let's rename the button. This one is going to be upload and the next one download. So for this one, the text attributes, text, this will be upload, enter, and then do the same for button 9, upload, enter. So download and, oh, this should be download, my bad. Download. Okay, so all this is done. We have everything designed so far. That looks good. The next thing we're going to do is to launch this screen from our first screen, which is our main activity. So let's find our first screen, which is this one. We're going to add a new button. This will be, let's call it maybe cloud storage. Yeah, let's call it cloud storage. So I'm gonna resize this a little bit. So I'm gonna add constraints to the top, constraints to the bottom, constraints to the left, and constraints to the right. Bring it down. Okay, so now let's rename it to screen. Oops. Find the text attribute first. Then in the text box, we will name it to screen 6 cloud storage. Okay, so this is done. Now we're going to make this button launch screen 6. But first, let's add the ID. Let's customize it to something we can actually remember. So let's call this screen 6. That's the ID we're going to use to connect it to this screen. So in our main activity.java, which is this one, our first screen, we're going to add the buttons for screen 6 button. We call the screen 6 button. Did I spell that right? I think so. Nope. Okay. Screen 6 button. Alright, and then we're gonna connect it to the layout by initializing it with the ID we had used. Equal to find view by ID, our.id screen 6. Let's see, I forgot the button, but that's okay. I forgot the BTN at the end. So let's go make that change real quick. Screen 6. Nope, that's this one. So on the ID, just gonna make the change. BTN. Yes, refactor. And then we go back to our activity, main activity.java. And as you can see, it got updated. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to make this button clickable. That's where is it? That's this button. And to do that, we say screen 6. We're going to do this inside this function of setClickListener, which we are calling from the onCreate method. So to make it clickable, we say screen 6.set on click listener, new on click listener, And then in here, we simply call the same code for launching a new screen. We call it in here. And then we say screen 6. That's what we want to launch. So we're going to run this app now and test and just make sure that the layout looks okay. Let's see. Okay, now it has launched. All right. Looks like we need to kill this previous one first. Let me see. Okay, let's kill this one first. But let me check and make sure that the launcher, let's see. Okay, I'm checking to make sure that the screen that launches first is the first screen, which is the main activity. You can tell which one can launch first by checking the one that has this intent filter of launcher, and it is our main activity. So on our emulator, this must be a bug. So I'm gonna kill the screen. I'm gonna kill the app and then run it again. I'll upload it for this simulator. Okay, let's restart the emulator. Stop. Let's see. Where's our app seed? I'm gonna install it real quick. App info. Uninstall. Okay. You don't have to do this if yours launched right away. Sometimes mine messes up, but that's okay. So I'm gonna run the app again. Now we should launch from screen 1, which is our main activity. Okay, launch succeeded. Why is this still showing? Let's see, seed. Okay, finally. Okay. Oh man, this simulator is so buggy. Anyways, so screen 6, click it, and this is our design. Looks like we need to make some modifications. We need to bring this button down a little bit. So actually, let's leave it there. Yeah, let's leave it there. It's fine. But in the real world, we're gonna move it down a little bit to kind of match the screen. All right. And we need to rename this to play button. Somehow we forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. Main activity. That will be screen 6. What just happened? Everything is buggy today. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna restart Android Studio real quick. Okay, so screen 6. All right, back to normal. So we're naming this button to the text. We're naming the text to play web video. Play web video. Yeah. Okay, so that looks good. You know what? Let me bring these down a little bit. Let's see. Okay. So now this is done. We're going to assign IDs to the rest of the widgets since we think they look good now. So for this one, the ID we are going to assign to it will be web video button. Web video. No, let's call it play button. Play button. Okay. Yes. And then this one will be switch 1. That's fine. This one is text. This one is yeah, so all the IDs for these buttons are set, and then this one, let's call it upload image view. Upload image view. And then this one we're going to call it download image view. Okay. Alright, so I think, and then this one we're gonna call it video view. Yeah, that's fine. So video view, and all the buttons have their IDs, everything is set. I'm gonna bring this down a little bit to match this one. Okay. Alright, so let's start coding. So we've gone through explaining Firebase, setting up Firebase, adding Firebase libraries, configuring Firebase, designing the app, importing Firebase modules. I think we already did this. Yes, we did that already. So now it's time to actually upload data to this real-time database. We're gonna start with this one, and then we're going to try the file storage. So to upload data, as you can see, currently it's empty. There is nothing there. This is our root part in our database. As we upload stuff, it's gonna show like a tree, depending on where in the database that we upload those stuff. Okay, so let's dive in. So I'm going to open up the snippets. The snippets for Java, I'm using Java. If you're using Kotlin, this is the one you should use, but I'm currently on Java, so I'm going to use this snippets. We're going to be wait, my bad. If you're on Kotlin, this is the snippet you're gonna be needing now. If you're on Kotlin, this is the snippet you're gonna be needing. If you're on Java, this is the snippet you're gonna be needing now. Okay. We're going to dive into this one later for food order. All right. So this is Firebase. This is the sample code. I'm going to import this into my project now, and then I will explain everything. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a class and call it FireTools. So let's do that. This is going to be a Java class. So under our utils folder, we're going to create a class called FireTools, new Java class. If you're on Kotlin, you should create a new Kotlin class. So we're gonna call this Fire Tools. Enter. It's designed. Okay. And then we're going to copy everything here. I'm going to click raw. And then I'm going to select everything by pressing Ctrl A or Command A if you're on a Mac. Copy. And then go back to my project and paste everything. Okay. Alright, so now let me dive into explaining this. Alright. View, appearance, presentation mode. Okay. So the first thing we are going to be dealing with today is the real-time database. That's where we store text, numbers, lists, and objects. Okay. So to store a text to Firebase, the first thing you want to do is to get a reference to Firebase. Pretty much get a reference to your created database, because we created one here. So Firebase automatically gets that specific reference for you using that JSON file we had added to our project earlier. So that means all you need to do really is just call this line database reference and initialize it with Firebase database.getInstance.getReference. Alright, then using this reference, we say ref.child. In this case, we're working with our restaurant, if you remember. Manager name, and then we want to set the value for our manager name to be Steve. So this is what we are saving. We're going to save the name of the manager of our restaurant as Steve. This is what we want to upload to the cloud. Okay. And so once we call this code, our database is going to receive these two values pretty much, and they're going to be paired together. Same thing with if you want to upload a number. All you have to do is say initialize the database using this, and then use that reference to upload something like ref.chipsprice.setValue. Now it doesn't have to be right away that you set the value. You can also nest it further by saying something like ref.chipsprice.child, and then put it into another level and say something like discount price. So here we have ref.child chipsprice.child discount price set value $2. You can do this as many times as you want. Ref.child maybe let's say new child, then let's say new year price, and then you set the value. So there are no limits to how much you can nest. It's really up to you, but the nesting designs the hierarchy. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. So this is how you upload a number. If you want to upload a list to Firebase, it's the same concept, except that of course you have to initialize the list first somewhere, and then you say ref.child whatever you want to name the list .value, you pass in the list. Lists have to be an array list type, otherwise you might get errors. So whenever you're uploading list, upload an array list. Then when uploading objects to Firebase, it's the same concept again. You have your object you're uploading to Firebase. Then you say the same thing, ref.child. In this case, we want to call that object orders. In this case, we want to narrow it down to a particular user, in this case Mary, and then we say .setValue. So among our orders, we have a user called Mary, and then we're going to attach this order to Mary by saying ref.child or orders.child again .setValue, and then we attach this order to Mary. You're going to see this in action in a second. Then Also, we can listen for when this is complete, because sometimes the internet may go off and this instruction may not happen immediately. It may take maybe a few more seconds. In those kind of cases, you probably want to use an on-completion listener to know when your data is stored. So that means when you use this on-completion listener in conjunction with your set value, you would get a completion callback once the value is stored or once there is an error in the process of storing your value to the cloud. Um, so in that case, you can just check the error message and see what actually happened, and then react accordingly. Um, there is also the get functions. I'm going to dive into this after. They are also straightforward, but first let's test out how to put values to the cloud. All right. Um, yeah, let's dive in. So let's see. I'm gonna escape this. View, appearance, exit. Okay. So in our screen6.java, let's set up our buttons. Remember, we had buttons for our we had an upload text button, number, object, and array. Let me zoom in so you probably can see this. Okay. So we had our text button, number, object, and array. I'm going to initialize these 4 buttons now. And to do that, I'm going to say button, upload text button, comma, text, upload, I think the next one was upload number, upload number, upload number, upload number button, comma, upload object, and then upload array. Okay, so we have upload text button, upload number, upload object, upload array button. All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is to initialize these. So upload text button. This will be equal to find view by ID, r.id dot upload text button. Let me make sure the ID I gave it, that would be screen 6. So I gave it the ID of text button. Okay, so that would be text. And then upload number button equal to find view by ID, r.id dot should be number button. And then upload object button equal to find view by ID, r.id dot objects button. And then lastly, upload array button equal to find view by ID, r.id dot array button. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is to implement click listeners for these buttons. So to do that, we're going to create a function called set public void set click listeners. Okay, view appearance. Okay, so set click listeners, and then I'm going to set a click listener for each of these buttons. So for upload text button, I'm going to say upload text button dot set on click listener equal to new on click. All right, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other 3 buttons. Just gonna press enter and paste, enter, paste, enter, paste. All right, and then this would be upload number button, and then this one will be number object, and then the last one array. Okay, so we have these 4 buttons click ready. Now they're going to have a click listener when they are clicked. All right, so the next thing we're going to do now is for the upload text button, we're going to upload the text to Firebase. So remember, I made you copy this. I made you copy this class, which is pretty much an easy to use cheat sheet, or pretty much a cookbook or a library of how to use Firebase. So right now we're going to be calling these functions directly and then modifying them to see how they work on the cloud. So the first one we're going to be calling is the upload text to Firebase button. Function. All right, so let's do that. So we're gonna say fire tools dot upload text to Firebase. Okay, it's really that simple. And this was inside our upload text button. All right, and then for upload number, let's try that as well. Fire tools dot upload number button. Do you notice that I did not initialize this fire tools in order to call this function? This is because this function in fire tools is a static function. A static function is a function you don't need to initialize the parent class in order to call it. So if you go to where I define this function, you're going to see a static modifier on it. This means we don't need to initialize this class to call this function. Okay, kind of like free food. All right, so for upload objects, we're going to try that as well. This is the one that is going to be uploading the food order. Upload fire tools dot upload object to Firebase. All right, and then lastly, fire tools dot upload array. This is the one that's gonna upload a list to Firebase. Dot upload upload list. That's the first one. Okay, so now before we proceed and run this app, the upload object to Firebase, I'm going to make a little change to things there. Let me show you. So the food order, it's uploading a food order object. Now Firebase has some specifics on the kind of class you can upload, or the structure, the format of the class. And one of those formats it wants is that the class would have public variables, and then it would also have an empty constructor. An empty constructor is this is a constructor, the class that defines the initialization of an object. and whether or not that class would have parameters in the initialization block. So this one is the current constructor we have. As you can see, it's not empty. It has code in it and it has a parameter. Firebase requires that you also have an extra one that is going to be empty. So to create an extra one, I'm going to say public food order. It's really that simple. So now I have an empty constructor. Okay. I created the same thing but updated, this time with compatible with Firebase. So if you click on let's see, where is it? I think it's this one. Let's see. Yes, so the updated food class, this is the one for Java. As you can see, it has the empty constructor, and then the variables are public. There is also the one for Kotlin. For Kotlin, it's kind of the same concept, except that to create an empty constructor, you have to, whatever you have to set a default value of it to null. So you can basically just copy this class and learn from it. This is our initialization block for our Kotlin class, and then this is the one that makes it compatible with the Firebase requirement that says have an empty constructor. So for the Java one, which is this one, I'm going to copy this, even though I've already made the change, but I'm going to copy it and paste it in my food order class I already have. Okay. So it comes already with the empty constructor. All right. Now I have to go back to where I was. Let me see. So now I'm back to my screen 6.java. Let me show you appearance. Okay, so I'm back to screen 6.java now. I have made changes to the Firebase I told you. So let's run and test the 4 buttons. We're going to be testing these 4 buttons: text, number, object, and array. And then we're going to be spying on it here. Okay, I hope you're excited. Let's try it out. So I'm going to run the app. Oops, before I run the app, I need to call this setClickListeners from in here in the onCreate function. So I'm going to say setClickListeners. Great, so now the click listeners are actually being listened for. And I'm going to run the app again to respect that. Okay. So the app, oh come on, not again. Screen 6, okay. So the app is ready. Before we run the test, I'm going to make one last change. I'm gonna add the background color to our screen 6. It kind of looks ugly with the white. Let's do a yeah, I think this looks okay. All right. Okay, so before we dive in and test our database implementation for text, number, object, and arrays, let's add one more thing to our build.gradle file. This is something we forgot to add earlier. So in our Firebase console, click Settings, Project Settings, and then scroll down to the section where you're gonna see your app ID. On there, click see SDK instructions, and then scroll down to step 3. So on step 3, we forgot to add this line, apply plugin google com.google.gms.google services. So let's copy that. Once you have it copied, go back to Android Studio and then open up your build.gradle file under your Android, under your app module. So remember, there is the project module 1 and then there is the app module 1, the app module build.gradle. So put that line of code you have in your clipboard at the top of your build.gradle file here. Once that is in, you click sync. So once it's done, we can now go ahead and test the app. So just as a quick reminder, we are going to be testing our, by the way, this is not needed. I'm gonna get rid of this. We're going to be testing our Firebase upload text, the upload number, the upload object, and the upload list. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me expand this. All right, so let's click run. Building. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, now let me open my database side by side so we can see these as they happen live. Okay, all right, so this is our database. I'm going to click upload text. Let's see. So as you can see, the manager name got uploaded successfully. Let's try the number, upload number. By the way, before I dive into number, let me show you again the code for upload text. So this is the upload text call. So all it does is it creates a reference to our database, and then using this, I'm using this in view appearance. Okay, so all it does is it creates a reference to our database, which is this one here, and then from that reference it creates a variable called manager name and then creates a value for it, in this case Steve. So that's what we have here, manager name Steve. That's what happens when we click upload text. Then for upload number, it's the same thing, just that it's the value in this case is a number. So let's click the number to test it out. As you can see, it got uploaded, chips price equal to 2, and this is the code here. The same concept, ref.child.chips price set value 2. That's exactly what happened here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so let's test the object. Remember, the object is of type food order, which we've dealt with in this app before. The food order class, you are familiar with, the one with the order ID, the customer name, the total cost, the prices of the items that is on the menu, all this good stuff. So let's go ahead and test that out. So upload object. As you can see, the order got uploaded. This is the order that Mary made. In the order, there is her name, her order ID, the prices of the orders, the prices of the items on the menu, chips price, drinks, wings, and then the total cost of everything she ordered, in this case, is 0. So that's the objects. As you can see, it's nested. So the next thing we're going to test is uploading a list. And as you can remember, uploading a list is also simple. The same concept, you initialize a list and then you say reference, that's this reference here, dot child, and then the key is the list, is a string, and then we set the value to our list, which is this list up here. It's really that simple. The same process all through the Firebase database. Ref.child, then .set value, ref.child.set value, ref.child.set value. It's really that simple. If you have nested child, you simply say ref.child.child.set value. It's the same process everywhere. So let's go ahead and test out the list. I'm gonna click array, and as you can see, the list got uploaded right away. So let me go ahead and delete this and try again so you can see. I just deleted the list. Now it's gone. I'm gonna click it again. As you can see, our list got uploaded. So that's how we upload lists, numbers, texts, and objects on our Firebase database. It's completely customizable. That's one thing I love about this, and they are accessible in a very fast way. So the next thing we're going to do is to demonstrate how to get these values. So if we want to get these values, how do we do it? So let's go ahead and test that out. So we have our buttons for text, our buttons for numbers, our buttons for object and array. I'm going to test out getting a text. Okay, so let's say firetools dot get text on Firebase, and then I'm going to pass in the context of our screen. I'm going to create a context variable, context. This will be C, and then I will initialize it here. Context. No. So C equal to get application context. Okay. So I'm going to pass this into our call to get text. All right. C. So this get text from Firebase function, all it does is it tries to retrieve this value we have in our database for text, which is this one. It's gonna try to retrieve this Steve. All right. So let me dive in and show you the code. So to retrieve a value from Firebase, all you have to do is again create a reference to your database, and then use that reference to say ref.child, the same child you use when you are saving the value. Remember up here when we save the text, ref.child, manager name. When we're getting the text, we're going to use the same protocol, ref.child again, and then in this case, the same name, but instead of assigning the value, we query the value. In this case, we say add listener for single value event. So this queries the value for this manager name, and then we pass in a new value event listener, and then in there we grab the value from a snapshot. Okay, and this snapshot is what we now say snapshot.getValue. So an easy way to understand this is to reuse this code I have given you here multiple times to have a grasp of it. But let me quickly guide you through it again, pretending this doesn't exist. So to grab to get the value for this manager name, simply initialize the database reference, and then I'm gonna call this ref2, and then say ref2 dot add ref2 dot child. So this at this point we are when we get the reference to our database, we are getting the reference to this root here. So that's why we say dot child. So in this case, I'm going to say dot child to this manager name, ref2 dot child. I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. ref2.child dot add listener for single value events. That's the first one. There is also the add child event listener and add value event listener. They're all the same thing, but these are live. These ones are live. But this one only listens once, while this one's this add child event listener and add value event listener, they listen constantly. When something changes, they fire. So that means this thing can fire 10 times in a second, depending on how many times the value gets updated in the cloud. So to keep things simple, we're going to be using the add listener for single value event, and then we're going to say new value event listener, and then it generates this this interface for us to listen for the value that got received from the cloud. It's in here that we will now say string name, that's the manager name, equal to snapshot, this is that which is this, a snapshot of our value from the database, snapshot dot get value, and then we pass in, by the way, look, get value. So the parameter is to pass in the type of the object you're expecting. So in this case, the manager name is of type string. We should know this naturally because we are the one who is designing the app. So you should know the kind of value you're expecting. If you query a list, you should know that you are expecting a list, and you pass in the list type. If you're querying an object, you know you are querying an object. You should know this because you're working on the app. So you should pass in the value, the type of the object you are getting. So in this case, we are getting a string. So I'm going to say string dot class. Okay, and that's really it. Then in here, after that, we can now do whatever we want with the string. Okay, so in the case of this example, we're simply going to toast it to show on screen. All right. So it's going to show the name of the manager on screen. It's really that simple. So, and then this is really it. This is how you get values. This applies also for numbers. If it was a number, you simply pass an integer dot class here. If it was an object like a food order, you pass a food order here. If it was a list, that one is different. We're going to get to that. You're going to pass in something called generic type indicator, and then you're going to pass that as a list. But we're going to get into that when we get to that section. But first, let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this, my duplicate code. I got rid of it because we already have the same code up here. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out for getting text and numbers. So okay, I'm back. So get text from Firebase, that's what we're gonna do here. And then for number, we're gonna do FireTools. By the way, FireTools is the same class we just came from. That's where we have all those easy to use example codes I gave you. FireTools.get number from Firebase. And then I pass in the context. The context is used for toast. Alright, so we're gonna test these two out and then come back. So where is our run? Okay, let's see. So gets text from Firebase. As you can see, the text gets toasted. That's Steve, so it got the text correctly. Let's test the number. The number got toasted. That means it got 2. So things are looking good. Things are looking good. Our database is working very good. Now again, remember, this is not calling from the local memory. This is calling from the internet, the cloud, the database, the cloud storage, you know. So the next thing we're gonna do is to get object and then get array. So let's go ahead and test that out. So for this one, we're gonna say firetools dot get object from Firebase. See, now remember that in here we are it's the same process. Get a reference to the database and then get a reference to the object you want to narrow down to. As you can see here, we say ref. Again, remember this reference points to this one, so that's why we say dot child. So in this case, we're going to say dot child order and then dot child Mary. Mary is the food order. This is not the food order, this is a list of food orders. So Mary is the food order we need here. So that's why we say ref dot child orders dot child Mary. Okay, so then the rest of it is the same. That add single value event listener, and then when in the onDataChanged method, we pass in the food order class that we're expecting, because you as the developer would know you're expecting a food order class or a string, whatever. So once that's gotten, we are simply just toasting the that the order object has been gotten. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that out. Get object from Firebase, and then the array one, I'm going to say get array, firetools dot get list from Firebase, passing context. All right, so let me test this out and then I'll show you how the list one works. All right, so let's see, run. Okay, so let's get the object. You see order object gotten, that's good. Then for the array, let me dive in and show you how this one will work. Okay, so like I said, the array is different because this is an array of objects, remember? So we have to define the kind of array of objects we are expecting, and that's when we are going to be using this thing called generic type indicator. It's really straightforward. All that means is that we simply of course know the kind of array we are looking for. In this case, an array of string. Remember, it's an array of string A, B, C, D in quotes. So we simply know that, and we just put this array list of string inside this generic type indicator brackets. So this is really what you need to focus on, but remember that whenever it's a list, you put it inside this generic type indicator. And then for this one, it's the same thing. You say new generic type indicator, passing the array list of the object you're expecting, which in this case, which is a string. Then when you say snapshot.getValue, the same thing we did up here with where is it, snapshot? The same thing we did up here with snapshot.getValue, we passed in the string, if you remember. So for a list, you simply pass in the snapshot.getValue, but this time around you pass in the generic type indicator that indicates the kind of list you are expecting. It's really the same concept, just that you encapsulate your array list inside a generic type indicator and then passing that t, the variable of the generic type indicator, into the snapshot.getValue, and then that will give you the correct form of the list you're expecting. So let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, so we already have get list from Firebase. So let's test this out. So as you can see, the gotten list ABC looks good. It got toasted. That means everything looks good. Now, the next thing we are going to dive into is the uploading pictures to our storage on the cloud. Okay, so that means when we click this button, we expect this picture to get uploaded. When we click this one, we expect this picture to get downloaded from our Firebase. So before I dive into that, let me navigate to our Firebase storage, which is this one. It stores files. The one we just came from stores, text, numbers, objects, arrays. So this is our bucket. It's currently empty, our Firebase cloud storage. Imagine your Facebook profile. When you upload pictures, they get stored into something like this. All right. So let's dive into the code. All right. So when uploading files to Firebase storage, the process is very similar. I'm trying to scroll to where we have the code. All right, the process is very similar to the one for database. In this case, you simply initialize and get a reference to Firebase storage, kind of the same way we do for Firebase database, except that in this case you're gonna say Firebase storage dot get instance dot get reference. For Firebase database, we said Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference. For Firebase storage, which is used for storing files, we say Firebase storage dot get instance dot get reference. Okay. Then from there we go through the same process. Ref dot child dot child again. You nest as much as you want, and the child, you see, you can do this as many times as you want. Each nesting creates a new child folder in this case. So in this case we are saying ref.child, and the first child we want is the folder name. In this case it can be something like folder, you can say albums, and then the next one will be holiday pictures, and then the next one can be something like swimming, the child can be swimming dot png. It can be that simple. Okay. So each one is a folder, and then the last one is the file. Gonna get rid of this. All right, so in this case I created a very simple function for you guys to build upon and kind of like emulate. And the function takes in the file we want to save to the cloud, the folder you want to store it inside, the name of the picture like swimming.jpg or swimming.png, and then lastly I created something that will make the process easy for you, which is a listener that will tell you when the object is uploaded successfully, and then it passes in the URL that you can use to access that file in the future. So this makes this whole process easy, and that's what we're going to be using, this function I created for you. It's going to make the process much easier. So after you create the reference to where you want to store the file, the next thing you simply do is say that reference, in this case fireref.put file, and then you pass in the file. It's really that simple, and the file is is in this case the URI pointing to the file on the system. And then here I have, you really don't need to understand this, but it's pretty much a completion listener that fires back to give you this, so that once the image is gotten, you get a callback in your activity that the image has been uploaded successfully with the URL. So let's go ahead and try this out. Using it is actually much simpler. So let me show you, going back to my activity. Okay, so let's see, view appearance. All right, so let's go ahead and connect our button, this upload button, to our screen. So I don't think we have that on our screen yet. Do we? No, we do not. So let's give it an ID. I think we already have an ID. No, we don't. So we have, let's call this upload image button. Okay, enter. Upload image button. Yes, refractor. And then we're going to do the same thing for this button. We're going to call this download image button. Okay, enter, enter. And I believe we already have an ID for this one, upload image view, download image view. So we're going to bring in these four widgets into our screen now. So we're going to start with the upload image view. All right, so I'm going to say button. We have we're starting with the image view. So image view, and this is upload image view, and then we have the download image view. Okay, then next is the button, and that one is the upload image button. And then the next one is download image button. All right, so as you might have guessed, the next thing is to connect it to our layout by saying upload image view, upload image view equal to find view by ID, r.id dot upload image view. And then the next one will be our download image view, equal to find view by ID, r.id dot download image view. And then lastly, the two upload and download button, download image button, equal to find view by ID, r.id dot download image button. And then we have upload image button, upload equal to find view by ID, r.id dot upload image button. Okay, and then before we move forward, we have to check and make sure things are correct. So upload image view, the ID is correct. Download image view, the ID is correct. Download image button, the ID is correct. Upload image button, the ID is correct. Okay, looks like we have no errors. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a click listener for these for the download image button and the upload image button. So inside the parameters for set click listeners, I'm going to scroll to the bottom and say upload image button dot set on click listener, new on click listener. Then we're going to do the same thing for our download image button. I'm going to just rename this download image button. Okay, so this two is set. And what do we want from this? Remember, we want whenever the upload button is clicked, it's going to check and see if the internet is available and then upload the image. When the download image is clicked, it's going to check if the internet is available and then it's going to download the image. So next we're going to import this switch here, okay, this toggle here. Let's go ahead and bring that into our Java file. Okay, so let's call this online switch. Okay, that's the ID we are giving it. And then in our screen 6, we're going to bring it in, switch, online switch, and then we're going to connect it, switch, online switch report to find view by ID, r.id.online switch. Okay. All right. So the next thing we are going to do now is we're going to use this switch to know when there is internet or not. And to do that, we can simply come inside our upload button and say if online switch dot is checked. That means if the online switch is on. Otherwise, else. So if online switch is checked, we upload the image. Otherwise, we say tools.toast no internet we're gonna say turn on your internet first. Turn on your internet first, and then we pass in the context. Okay, so if the online switch is checked, that means it's on. We're going to upload the image, and to do that, we simply say this is the point. First, we're going to now bring in the image we want. So the image we have here is, where is it? Is the image of the gray car, okay? And the gray car is stored in our resource folder, which is here. Where is it hiding? Okay, so it's stored in our resource folder here, gray car. So let's go ahead and bring that in. So to do that, we say bitmap. Bitmap is the image format Android uses. So bitmap, I'm going to call this bm equal to bitmap factory dot decode resource, and then we say get resource. This is an inferred function from an Android activity. So if you call it in an activity, it's going to show up. So get resource, and then we pass in the ID of the image we want, and the image ID we want is drawable. Drawable is the drawable folder. It doesn't really matter if it says v24 or v25 or whatever. Just say r.drawable, and it's going to show up dot gray car. Okay, gray car. All right. So once that's done, we now have a reference to our bitmap, and then we're going to now store this bitmap in the file system locally, because the function that uploads this to the cloud, it works with a locally stored file. In this example, as you can see here in our Fire Tools, it requires a file. See, it requires a file, and a file is a local file on the system. So we're going to store this bitmap on the file system. And to do that, we simply initialize tinydb. If you remember, tinydb. I call it tinydb equal to new tinydb. I'm going to pass in context, and then we are going to now store the image on the file system by saying tinydb dot put image. We want to store this in the folder images slash cars. Then the next parameter is, as you can see, it requires the folder, the image name, which is something like whatever you want to name it, fave car .png. And then the next parameter is the bitmap of the image, which is going to be this bitmap up here. Okay, and then we pass in the bitmap, which we call bm. And then, so this is going to save this image to the file system, and the goal is to have a grasp on the file. Then we can pass it into the function that is going to upload it to the cloud. So to have a grasp on that file, we need the paths of where this is stored. So to get that path, we need to get the return variable from this function, which is a string path equal to tinydb.putImage. All right. So this is going to save and return to us the location in this path. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to now we have the path. We're going to pass this path into the function that is going to save file to the cloud. All right. So we're going to say firetools dot upload image to the cloud. Let's see, where is it? Did I name it something different? Let's see, firetools.upload image. Okay, so this is not static. That's why I couldn't access it. The rest of the functions here are static. That means we don't need to initialize this class to upload to call all these functions. That's what static means. So the upload image function doesn't have the static in it. That means we need to initialize firetools first before calling the upload image object. And that's really because firetools uses this local variable, which is essential that the class gets initialized first. So that means we go back to our screen and simply say new firetools dot upload image, and it shows up. Okay, upload image. The first parameter, as you can see, is the file, the folder, the image name, and then the upload listener. So by the way, I need to make this big. Appearance, enter presentation mode. Okay. All right, so new firetools dot upload image, and then we pass in the file. In this case, we say new file, and then we pass in the path we have above, comma, and then the next parameter is the folder name, as you can see. Come on. So the folder, then the image name. So the folder name, we want it to be cars, and then the actual image, we want it to be maybe the same thing, favecard.png, still on the cloud. So we say favecard.png. Yes, the extension is required, so you can actually be able to display the file on the cloud. And then lastly, we pass in the listener. If you remember, the listener, I told you would the listener, as you can see, will be the image upload listener, which is where you're gonna get the callback for when the image is successfully uploaded. So here we say new firetools.image upload listener. That's it over there. And then it gave us this callback. It's inside this callback that we're now going to do something with the URI we got. All right. So this is the upload. This is a successful upload. All right. So let's go ahead and test this out, and then we'll come back to do something with the image we got. All right. So as an overview, the first thing we did was to check if the internet was on with an if statement. If online switch is checked, and then we decoded the bitmap of the gray car, which we saved into memory using TinyDB. So we saved it into memory here by saying tinydb.putImage, and we passed in the bitmap, and then we grabbed the location of that image and passed it into the function that saved it to the cloud. Remember, this function was from the FireTools class, where I demonstrated how to upload an image to the cloud. Okay, that's where we got the upload image function from. All right, so we simply just use this simple one-line code: new firetools.upload image. We pass in the path, we pass in the folder, we pass in the name of the file, and then lastly we pass in a listener. All right, so let's go ahead and test this out by clicking the upload image button. All right, so this is our storage on the left, this is our app on the right. So let's click the upload image button. By the way, notice that the switch is off. So the error says turn on internet first. So I'm gonna turn on internet. Boom, now it's on. I don't know if you can see it, but it turns out this is green as well. So now it's on. I'm going to click upload again. So now the image should have uploaded. I'm just gonna refresh file storage so you can see the image. All right, so now you see the folder cars, which is the same folder we had here, cars, this one. Okay, and now when I click the folder, inside there I have our favorite image.png. Let me expand this so you can see it better. It has the size of the file, the image type, and then the date. So I'm gonna click the favorite image.png, and you can see the preview here. So, and you can download it or do whatever you want with it. So this is our image. It got uploaded successfully. That's good. So the next thing now we're going to do is to do something with this image, okay, that we uploaded to the cloud. And the thing we plan to do with it is to download it back and display it into our app. All right. I know this has been a lot, but the good thing is you can watch this video over and over again. Once we are done with this, we'll play a web video and we'll be pretty much done. So let's download this image back, and the way we do that is, remember, there is a completion listener that tells you when the image has been uploaded. So let's do a toast inside here, tools.toast. Then we pass in a success message, image uploaded, image uploaded, yeah, image uploaded. All right, and then we pass in the context. Remember, the C is the variable name for context, which we created up here and initialized down here. Okay. All right. So this is our success message. Then there is a parameter here, URI, which holds the URI of the image that was uploaded to the cloud. So this function, new firetools.upload image, it uploads the image and then passes in the URI that you can use to access that image in the future. So let's grab that and do something with it. Okay. But before we do something with it, we need to get a library called Picasso. Picasso is a library that helps us display images, especially web images, without crashing the app due to large images. So let's go ahead and bring in that library and then use it to display this image using the URI. Right, so there is a link to Picasso here. As you can see, description of Picasso, a powerful image loading and caching library for Android. Now, again, we're currently on GitHub. GitHub is a page where GitHub is a website that allows us to share code. You know, someone creates something, you can use it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Something like this image downloading library. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can simply use this and move faster in our projects. All right. So to get Picasso, all we need to do is grab the implementation here. So copy it, and then oh, by the way, anytime you're working on something new in your app, always anytime you're working on a new concept, always Google or search on GitHub libraries for that, and then sift through the options and see if that's the things you find are gonna save you time. For example, this image loading library we just looked into now, I could have done something like this. Image loading libraries for Android, Java, and then lastly I would say GitHub, so that Google would focus on GitHub libraries. Okay, and I press enter, and then I would see all these options: Glide, Android Universal Image Loader, all this stuff. So imagine we chose this first one, Glide. We can follow the same process. Find the implementation, read the instructions of course, read the description. If we like it, then we find the implementation and then bring it into our app. But me personally, I like Picasso. So I use Picasso. It's really the same thing, same concept, different approaches. So we use Picasso. So we've copied this. Now we're going to dive into our app, the build.gradle file. Okay, that's the build.gradle for the app. Remember, there are two. The one for the app, which is this one. Okay, so now we are in there. We're going to simply add a new implementation down here for Picasso. Okay, paste it in and then click sync. So now it's done syncing. We're now going to go back to our screen 6. That's this screen right here. We're gonna go back there and then use Picasso here to load our load the image into our image view. Okay, so let's do this. So here we say Picasso dot get dot load. So there are different options, as you can see. Oh, by the way, let me make this bigger. View appearance, the presentation mode. Okay, so let me redo this. Where is my Picasso? Okay, so we say Picasso dot get dot load. So as you can see, there are different options. To load a URI, that means you're trying to load an image from the cloud. Load a file, that means you're trying to load a local file. And then lastly, the fourth one, load resource ID, that means you're trying to load a resource on file. I don't remember exactly what this one is for. I think this is a new option. But anyways, this one is for loading cloud, this one is for loading a file on the system, and this one is for loading a resource file on your resource folder. Okay, so the one we're going to be using here is the URI, which is the one for the cloud, because we are trying to load an image from Firebase, and we have the URI, if you remember. So I'm going to click this, and then we simply pass in the URI we have up here as a parameter, which Firebase returned to us after uploading the image to the cloud. So we say cloud URI, and then dots into, we want to put this into an image view, and we're going to load it into our we're going to put this into our download image view. Okay, so Picasso.load, we load the link to our image on the cloud into our download image view. It's really that simple. So we can now run a test and test this out. This is the, by the way, this is the download button. The upload button. With this done, the download button is almost redundant, but we're gonna get to that. So what's happening here is we upload the image, we download it back and put it into our image view. So let's test that out. Run. So we do an upload. We need to turn on our internet. Okay, thank you for the reminder. Upload again. So as you can see, it got uploaded and got downloaded from the internet and shown here. So now, what if we didn't want this button to show this, or I wanted this button to be the one to show the image? The way we do that is we simply create a variable. We simply make the URI a global variable. So that means when this is gotten, we simply So we simply create a global variable for URI, and then say URI gotten. I'm gonna call it gotten URI. Then when the upload happens, we put this as we save this as a global variable instead by doing gotten URI equal to cloud URI. It's really that simple, and then this is no more needed. So that means this is all that happens when the URI returns. Then inside our download image button, we simply check if gotten URI is not equal to null, because by default it is null because we didn't initialize it up there. If it's not equal to null, we show the image using the gotten URI. Okay, so let's test this out and see. Okay, so the app is fresh. We click upload. Now it's in the cloud, and then upload. So image uploaded. As you can see, nothing got downloaded because it's only saved it as a variable. So now when we click download, the image gets downloaded because we have the link. Alright, so that's how we upload an image to Firebase. That's how we upload an image to Firebase, and that's how we download an image from Firebase. So the next thing we're going to dive into now is how to play a video from a link. Remember our app covers three main things. One is how to upload text, numbers, objects, and arrays into our Firebase database, as well as getting these from Firebase database. The next thing is how to upload a file to Firebase Storage, which is a different module than Firebase Storage. If you remember, this is Firebase Storage. This is where we uploaded the text, numbers, and list. This is where we upload files. That's this one, Firebase Storage. Okay, and then the next thing, the last thing this phase is going to cover is how to play a simple web video on a video player in our app. So we have the play web video button here, and then we have this video view. So let's go ahead and play this. All right, but first we need to connect this button to the screen because right now it's not connected. See, it doesn't do anything. All right, so to do that, we go to our layout and assign an ID to it. So that would be, this is the video view. Okay, it already has an ID, that is good. And then this one already has an ID too. So now we're going to use this ID and connect it to the screen. So our screen 6, we say, so we have video view. We're gonna call this video view, and then we also have our button, our play button. That's a button. When we say play button, play video button. Okay, and then as you might have guessed, the next thing to do is to bring this button in. So we say play button equal to find view by ID, r.id dot play button, and then the video view equal to find view by ID, r.id dot video view. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to connect this play button to our screen. I mean, add a click listener to it. So we'll scroll all the way to the bottom of our function set click listeners, and we say play video button dot set on click listener, new on click listener. So it's in here that we now write the code for loading our web video on our video view. So the concept is very simple. We want to play a web video here, okay? And on the Google document sheet, on the document, I have a sample link that we're gonna play. So this is the link of the video we're going to test out. I'm gonna put it in my browser so you see it's an actual working link. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, so this is the video. It's currently playing from the web. This is the link. All right. Now, one thing I should mention about this link is that notice it starts with HTTPS. That is very essential. Otherwise, you might have issues with the video actually playing. So this extra layer of security is necessary. So make sure whatever video you're playing, whatever link you're playing with online or on your app has the HTTPS. All right. So let's copy this link and then have that in our clipboard as we dive into the app. All right. So, all right. So the first thing we'll do is we'll say video view dot set path, set video path, and then we create a quotes and paste the link inside. It's really that simple. Let me zoom this in, view appearance. So video view.setPaths, and then after that we play the video. It's really that simple. Video view dot start. Yeah. Okay. So we set the paths for the video, and then we say video view dot start. So let's go ahead and test that out. So as you can see, our video is playing successfully. So it's really very straightforward. All we needed to do was pass in the link to our video view and then say video view.start. And yes, there is other options like video view.pause, video view.seek2. As you can see, video view.pause, there is that. I think there's also stop. I think stop. You see the stop playback. And there is also seek to. This is how you seek to a particular time in the video. There are many things you can do with this, even video view dot resume. There are multiple things you can do with this, but I would warn you though, this video view is not robust. If you want a really robust video view, you would have to use a library. And that library, I believe, is called, let's see, I keep forgetting the name. So in this case, let's pretend we don't know the name. Let's search for it. So we say Android Video Player Library, GitHub. Okay. Now this is the one I was talking about. As you can see, there are other options, but this is the one this is the most robust out there I know of. Exoplayer is what it's called. Another way of knowing the best libraries is that they're usually used by the most developers out there. As you can see, this one has 18,000 stars on it. That's one way to know. Another way is to look at when the libraries are updated. As you can see, this one gets frequent updates 2 months ago, last month, all this stuff. So this is something good to know. So if you are building a very robust app, you probably want to use something like this Exoplayer. If you didn't like this one, you can go back to your search results and do it again. Check out this one. This one actually looks nice. I'm gonna star it. So it's always good to browse your options and see what works. You don't have to search from Google. You can also search from the GitHub search bar, by clicking home and then searching. So that's something good to know. So with that said, the next thing we're going to dive into is, I think our video is still playing. Is it? No, it stopped. So the next thing we're going to dive into, which is the last thing for today, is what if you want to create an app that does voice calling and maybe video calling. I'm sure we all use all these popular apps that does the same thing, but what if you want to implement it into your app? You know, some kind of video conferencing tool. So there is these two options I would recommend. One is Agora and the other one is Cinch. They are all paid platforms, but I believe they both have free tiers. So for Agora, Agora offers you, all this stuff in a box. You now choose which one you want. They have video calling, voice calling, interactive live streaming, real-time messaging and recording. This is probably what you need. So whichever one you need, read the documents for that. Agora offers them in a straightforward way. Read the documents and then go ahead and implement that. This is one of those things you probably don't want to reinvent yourself unless you have a whole team under you. Um, so it's better to start off with one that already works, even though it's going to cost you some money. Then the next one I'm going to recommend is Cinch. They kind of do the same thing, except that Cinch focuses more on kind of like the same thing, video calling, voice calling, but they go as far as into SMS verifications. You know, like they focus more on the core calling capabilities that we're used to, while Agora focuses kind of like on the modern just voice calling and internet stuff. All right. So you can keep this in mind on your notes in your arsenal as you plan to create video and voice conferencing apps. Um, so with that said, today we have covered how to upload text, numbers, objects, and arrays into Firebase Database. We covered how to upload files to Firebase Storage. We covered how to implement and import these libraries into your app. And we also covered how to use the very easy to implement functions I sent you, which is, let's see, where are they? Which is this class here. Which I gave you the Kotlin and Java versions of them. Uh, this is the Java one. This class is going to help you get your hands dirty with Firebase in a very easy way. Um, I give you very easy lines of code you can pretty much modify and do what you want. Text, numbers, lists, uploading an object. You can simply reuse this code as many times as you want. And I also gave you one for uploading images with a callback function. That's the golden of this, in my opinion, because without this, it's kind of messy to upload an image. But I created this so that you can learn how to create apps very fast and bring your app to the App Store. Um, so take advantage of these, they are very necessary to know. And then always continue learning Java or Kotlin, whichever one you're into, on Code Academy. It's very good to understand how these languages work. And then the next session, phase 7, we're going to be diving into some new concepts. Fun fact, we're going to be talking about Bruce Lee in this phase 7. All right, and with that said, I will catch you in the next one.